Well, it's been a crazy couple of days here for the Pittsburgh Steelers and for Steeler fans, as the Steelers have made some crazy moves. They've signed quarterbacks, they've traded quarterbacks, they've traded for quarterbacks to come in. A lot of things that are kind of foreign to the Pittsburgh Steelers. As I have not seen moves like this happen. With the Steelers and Omar Khan. With Kevin Colbert, it was just not. This was non-existent. This aggressiveness I like. I think that Omar Khan is definitely creating this football team in his image, so to speak. He wants it to be a certain way. He's basically throwing everything that Kevin Colbert did, out the door. Anything significant, which, let's be honest, Kevin Colbert's draft picks as of recently really hadn't panned out. There's been a few here and there that worked out, but if you're looking at the first players drafted, in each draft, for the last few years, it's been noticeably bad for the most part, right? So, in my opinion, here in this situation where you have Omar Khan has an opportunity to fix the quarterback room, Pittsburgh Steelers did so. Now, it is a bit surprising, I guess, to a certain extent. I think it's because of what room it is. Last year, the Steelers completely cleaned house in the middle linebacker room. Everybody was different. Clean house, even the coach. And then for the Steelers to do that this year, that tells you quite a bit about how the Steelers felt when it came to the quarterback position and quarterback play. Art Rooney, Mike Tomlin, Omar Khan, they all said it multiple times throughout all of their press conferences that the quarterback play was an issue. So let's break down what happened, how it happened, and perhaps maybe the Steelers did a little something sneaky there to end up with Justin Fields. So let's break it down. So the first thing that happened was the Pittsburgh Steelers signed Russell Wilson, and it's a 1-year deal. It's a deal that $1.2 million. It's not going to cost anything. I felt that if he was going to end up becoming on the team, that he was going to be the starter. Apparently, the Pittsburgh Steelers talked with Kenny Pickett, and they informed him that they're going to talk with Russell Wilson, and he was okay with it at that time, right? And then, apparently they end up signing Russell Wilson, and all indications is Kenny Pickett wasn't cool with it anymore and suggested a trade. Now, some stuff came out about Kenny Pickett as far as why the Pittsburgh Steelers also let him go. One was that they didn't think he handled the situation with Russell Wilson well. And I think that, you have a guy who hasn't really done much. I understand he may have been handicapped by an offensive coordinator, but at the end of the day, he hadn't done much. He's been average at best, right? And you have him demanding a couple of things here, getting upset for certain things. One of them being not dressing last year against the Seattle Seahawks. Now, I know that there's a story out there that says that if he would have dressed, they would have had to have gotten a shot. And I don't think that's necessarily true. I think you can get dressed and not get the shot, and even if it comes down to a situation where if, Trubisky gets knocked out and so does, Mason Rudolph, if Kenny Pickett still can't go, then don't put him in. But the crazy thing about it is the very next day, he was 100% clear to go, 100% all the way. So I don't know if he needed a shot for practice or things like that. I don't know. And maybe perhaps those practices were just walkthroughs early on. But there was more than just one claim out there. It came from initially Mark Madden, and then I also heard it from Al Saunders. And it wasn't something that was as clear as what Mark Madden was saying. Mark Madden said that Kenny flat out refused to. Saunders said that there was, some pushback, I think is what the words or the terminology that he had used. And from what I remember, there was this story that they didn't think it was worth it if he wasn't going to play. That's all right. It is what it is. But kind of find out here recently that apparently it was decided that he wasn't going to play. And he shows up out there in Seattle, and his uniform is in his locker area. So he goes and has a conversation with Mike Tomlin about him not playing and why his uniform was there. And um, they don't know what happened there. That's where things went kind of iffy, I guess. But I assume it probably wasn't the conversation that went in the favor of what Mike Tomlin wanted. Maybe perhaps there was more to playing Mason Rudolph than just playing the hot hand. Maybe there was something too about how Kenny Pickett had handled that situation as far as why he wasn't playing him. Well, that and how Kenny Pickett handled the signing of Russell Wilson, they decided to trade him. Traded him to the Philadelphia Eagles for a swap. The Steelers are going to get the Eagles' third round, and the Eagles are going to get the fourth round for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then next year, they're going to get a pair of seventh rounders from the Philadelphia Eagles. At first, when I first heard that trade, I was a little bit underwhelmed by it. I thought that the Pittsburgh Steelers could have gotten a little bit more for Kenny Pickett. I understand that Mac Jones went for, 6th rounder or something like that as well. And I think people were kind of comparing the two. However, I just felt that Kenny did kind of show some things at the end of the games that maybe perhaps could have gotten him a better draft pick or a swap for a player or something, a little bit better than just a swap for positions in a pair of 6 rounds. But then again, his stats, statistically, he's one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. I understand it. So, the Steelers get what they get from him. And like I said, I thought it was a little bit low. But now there's an opening, and then next thing we know, the Pittsburgh Steelers are signing or trading for Justin Fields. Which I was supposed to be changing these. My bad, guys. There it is. So Justin Fields is the quarterback that the Pittsburgh Steelers have just recently traded for. Now, my thoughts on this right away was, I was surprised. I didn't think the Steelers were going to make this move. And I felt, how is Russell Wilson going to act in this situation, right? Or maybe not act, but how is he going to feel in this situation? He just signed a contract. Although it's for 1 year, I think that he was probably given some sort of indication that he was going to end up being, or given the opportunity to start. Which is also one of the reasons why Kenny Pickett decided or asked for a trade. He was under the impression that he was going to get the nod, and then apparently after Russell Wilson signed his contract, Kenny Pickett was notified that he was not going to be getting first-team reps in OTAs and stuff like that, that it was going to be Russell Wilson. And that's one of the reasons why he asked for his trade as well. To me personally, just to go back to that, I think that was, him running away from competition. I just didn't really like the way, or like the optics of that situation. You know what I mean? It to me, that situation was, you want your player to compete. You want your player to be like, I don't care who you bring in. I'm going to go out there and show you that you made the wrong decision in bringing them in. The decision to say, all right, you know what, I'm throwing in the towel. Just get me out of here. Put me somewhere else. And then go to Philadelphia, where he's not going to be starting. There's not going to be a competition there. The only chance he's going to have is if, Jalen Hurts falls off a cliff and performance-wise, or, he goes down with an injury. And the likelihood of either one of those two things happening, injuries can happen anytime, but, the likelihood of him falling off that cliff without giving him the opportunity, given how much they're paying him, I don't think so. I think they're going to give him every opportunity to play, and Kenny's not going to have any opportunity there. In my opinion, I think there's that he may have kind of ruined or put his career in jeopardy of ever being a starter, to be honest with you, with what he had done. Well, anyways, so then Justin Fields gets traded. And my first reaction, like I said, was like, wow, can't believe it. I had to double check a few places because I thought maybe perhaps I'm getting punked here or something like that. Maybe this is fake. But no, sure enough, Justin Fields ends up becoming a Pittsburgh Steeler. Now, here recently, Ian Rappaport reported that the Bears had 4 other offers for Justin Fields, and they ended up going with the Pittsburgh Steelers because that is the one place that he wanted to go. And they wanted to do right by him. And I got to thinking, there was a lot of quarterbacks that moved recently from one place to another because apparently the Chicago Bears were asking for a lot of money. I'm curious if there was a battle between the Eagles and the Steelers for Justin Fields, and maybe perhaps the Steelers just went ahead and gave them Kenny Pickett for low compensation so they can knock him out of, or knock out Philadelphia out of the running for Justin Fields. That's kind of like the first thing that kind of came to my mind when that happened, and I was like, man, that's a nice little tricky thing that they went there. Also it kind of gets Fields out of the conference and things of that nature. So I'm sure that if the Eagles were in play, they were probably offering significantly more than what the Steelers were to be considered, right? If there was anything close to what the Steelers had, I don't think it's going to happen. So he's got, Justin Fields. He's got he's on his fourth year. This is going to be his last year unless the Steelers either extend him or sign his fifth year option, which they've already indicated and put out there that Russell Wilson is going to be the starter. The trade compensation is that the Steelers are giving away a 6th round next year unless Justin Fields plays 51% of the snaps. So half a year, just slightly more than half a year, and he ends up, costing the Steelers a little bit more. So I don't see that being a situation. Give me 1 second, y'all. But Justin Fields also wanted to come to the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's the interesting part for me. He saw that this was a place for him to maybe perhaps have an opportunity to take those steps to become a starting quarterback in the NFL again. Even though he saw the Pittsburgh Steelers acquiring Russell Wilson, and probably even though he's being told he's going to be the backup. For him to want to come here in that type of situation tells me he's probably open for an extension of some sort, probably a couple of year thing, maybe something similar to what happened with, what's his name in Green Bay? Love. Instead of getting the 5th year option, they end up extending him and, end up working out for the Green Bay Packers. And himself, he'll be getting a pretty good payday pretty soon. So I think maybe perhaps the Steelers might see him as the potential future and future starter. I think they're going to give him every opportunity to compete in the next couple of years. I think this year is going to be Russ's opportunity to lose. And, I was looking at some tape, and I'll be breaking down some film. Fortunately for myself, the Chicago Bears last year played against the Denver Broncos, a game that went back and forth. So I'll be able to break down some of the plays between the two quarterbacks in that. But going back into watching what Russ did last year, I think he was definitely handicapped there with a couple of things. One, some of the talent wasn't there. Some of it because of his contract situation. Two, it kind of felt like he was in he was kind of put behind the 8 ball, so to speak. I was watching the type of plays that he was running out there, and it very much looked very similar to some of the plays that Matt Canada was running. And I started listening to some of the Broncos, like YouTubers and things of that nature who talk about or Broncos centric. And, they were kind of mentioning how the play calls were kind of dumbed down and things like that for Russell Wilson. And I kind of wondered if that was some sort of maybe not so much sabotage, but Russell Wilson wasn't Sean Payton's dude. He wasn't Nathaniel Hackett's guy either. Nathaniel Hackett, from my understanding, they all assumed that they were going to get Aaron Rodgers, and there was going to be a reunion there between Nathaniel and Aaron Rodgers. Ended up not working out, and Russell Wilson ended up being the second guy, the second fiddle coming in and taking over, right? And Hackett ends up getting fired within the year. In comes Sean Payton. Russell Wilson's not his guy. So he really didn't have an opportunity, in my opinion, to show what he could really do on the field. Now, I know there's some off the field issues, the whole office and things like that. But I will say this. Him and what he's done so far as a Steeler has been impressive to me. I think that, him being signed, immediately reaching out to the fan base, posting up the Renegade song, talking about it's a great day to be a Steeler. When players were being acquired by the Pittsburgh Steelers, he shouted them out, including Justin Fields. Yeah, I really liked that ended up being, I really liked what I saw in that situation there. His press conference, it was everything you want to hear out of your quarterback. These were things that I didn't see out of Pickett or well, Ben, he didn't do the social media thing, so he wasn't going to go out there and do that. But the other, Trubisky, Pickett, they weren't as, open like that. And I don't know, it impressed me quite a bit. Him talking about his conversations with the defensive players. Apparently he went into the weight room and was hanging out with some of the defensive players. And there was a conversation, I think on the phone with Minka, where they were, talking about competing and things of that nature. So I'm excited about what he's brought so far. He's bringing a different attitude, so to speak. And I like it. I mean, shoot, Pickett finally addressed the city of Pittsburgh. I know that it's shown up that, he said, his farewells to Steeler fans, but I'm not sure. He says, in Pickett's final farewell to the city of Pittsburgh, he finally put it out. And I think that I find it odd. I've seen a few places kind of calling this out like, hey, Pickett left and he hasn't, said farewell to the Steelers. Thank you, Tomlin, for, the opportunity, yada, 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 right? You always see like, the goodbyes and stuff. In fact, we saw Justin Fields' goodbye before Pickett's. Well, anyways, this is what Kenny said. He said, "Thank you, Pittsburgh. I came to the city 7 years ago. My life changed forever. Grateful for all the amazing people I was fortunate enough to cross paths with, and for those who supported me along the way. I made lifelong friendships and relationships that I will always cherish. Now I'm honored and excited for the next opportunity in my career, being able to play for the team that helped me find my love for the game as a kid. Go Birds." So, yeah, maybe he meant the Steelers somewhere in there. Or maybe it was just the Pittsburgh, the university. I don't know. But it is what it is. Let's see. Let's see what's going on in the chat. I haven't been in there much. I want to say thank you, Steelers fan, for gifting 5 memberships. That's amazing. Thank you so much. We have 172 people in here. You guys can give me some likes. I'd appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. So the Steelers have. Oh, also, I mean, I just heard on. I don't know how true this is. This was on Mark Madden. Apparently, Tyler Boyd had said something about not joining the Steelers if Kenny Pickett was a quarterback or something like that, or not considering the Steelers. And I was like, damn, that's harsh. I thought they were boys, but I don't know. It came from Mark Madden. I was listening to his deal there, so take that for what it is. Sometimes he's a little bit of a shock jock, so to speak, and some of his stuff that he says might be a little bit exaggerated. So take that for what it is. All right, I'm gonna go through some of these comments. Russ is a mentor for Fields. I think that might be one of the reasons why Justin Fields also chose to come to Pittsburgh. He talked about how he idolized his game after Russell Wilson that he was a quarterback that he looked up to, that they played very similar. So for him to come in, maybe sit out behind Russell Wilson and given an opportunity to learn from him and learn from the style and what he and the work that he puts into it, maybe some of that can translate to himself to make him a better quarterback and him the, hopefully the future. We'll see. I would take Mason over Fields or Pickett 7 days a week and twice on Sunday. I would take Mason over Pickett. I don't know about, with Fields, he does have a lot of turnovers. I would say that if there was a game tomorrow, I would take Mason over Fields and Pickett. I would be interested to see what Fields can do with the year, with Arthur Smith under Russell Wilson and what he can be next year. So that's where I'm like, that's where the line is for me on that situation, because I do think that when it comes to the tangibles, not the intangibles, but the tangibles, the arm strength, the ability to throw, make the throws, the running, the whole 9 yards, Fields has it. It's about putting it all together. If he can put it together, he can be a very, very incredible quarterback. He has the tangibles. It's about getting the intangibles together. My question is, what number will Fields get? Man, I hope he gets one. I know that it's probably unlikely that he gets one. I was surprised Patrick Queen got 6. But then again, I was talking with, I think it was Shannon White on Still Current Network. If you guys aren't aware, I'm the one of the hosts of a show called The Hangover with Shannon White. He goes live tomorrow at 5 p.m. On Still Current Network. Go check that out if you want to hear our conversations. But, I was talking to him about Patrick Queen and number 6. And I told him, the guys that were asking for single-digit numbers and things like that in the past were guys that were rookies and things of that nature. Guys that didn't really have, that pedigree or that second contract and that experience that that Patrick Queen is coming in. I mean, he's the highest paid free agent that's coming from outside of the building coming in Steelers history. If he's going to want number 6, I'm sure they're going to give it to him, especially when he took what a lot of people are considering a pay cut. You know what I'm saying? People were expecting him to be around 18 million, signed around 13 to 14 instead, per year. So, I told Shannon, I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if this guy is a guy that they would allow to have number 6. I was like, they allowed Melvin Ingram to have number 8. And so I thought maybe this could be the situation. So with that being said, is Fields in the same boat? Do they see Fields as Patrick Queen? I don't know if they do. You know what I mean? I don't know if they see a guy that's going to be the second string quarterback this year as a guy that they're going to be willing to give up a number 4. Now, if the Steelers drafted him in the first round, maybe, perhaps, he might be a guy that gets it, but he's not a draft pick. He's a trade. He's not going to get the 5th-year option, in my opinion. I think he's going to probably sign an extension. So maybe he comes in with number 2. If so, I have a Mason Rudolph jersey. I'll just put some tape over Rudolph and write in Fields if he ends up entering the game or something. I won't buy an actual jersey until he shows up. I got a Pickett jersey and it bit me in the rear. So great question though. I mean, it's possible he gets one, but I'm iffy on it. Number 10 and put him out wide. That would be interesting. That would be interesting. Please like and subscribe. Yes, 100%. See, we can go back to when George Pickens got drafted. I wanted him to be number 1. I wanted Pickens to be 1. And I said it, that if Pickens ended up getting 1, because that was his number at Georgia, that I would have had a Pickens jersey right off the bat. That would have been my jersey for the year. They got 14, and 14 doesn't have the healthiest of paths when it comes to the Steelers, right? And so, I I was iffy on it. Fields gets one. Obviously, I'm going to wait until he see if he becomes a starter. If he ends up becoming a starter, that might be one I grab. I was thinking about the Russell Wilson one just because, let's say he does well, and even if he leaves after a year, it'd be nice to have, Russell Wilson jersey. Shoot, let's just say he does the craziest thing and gets number 7 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah, that would definitely put Russell Wilson in the Hall of Fame, and then have his Steelers jersey Hall of Famer. It'd be pretty cool to have, you know what I'm saying? So I think that one I might get if he starts playing well early on. Let's see. Hello, everyone. How's it going? How's it going, Claude? I wouldn't buy a number 1 Fields jersey. Yeah, I wouldn't buy one yet. I would wait until probably on a week 10 of next year if he's starting. Steelers got to trade for a wide receiver. Wide receiver becomes one of the biggest holes for the Steelers now. Do they get one in the draft? Do they get one in free agency? I don't think there's a wide receiver 1 in free agency. I know they just got Van Jefferson, I believe his name is. He used to be, I think he was a first-round pick for the Rams a couple of years back. Never really transitioned to anything in the NFL. Bigger guy, bigger body dude. Can jump up and get the ball. I see him being an Arthur Smith type of receiver. But the Steelers, I think they still need that wide receiver 1. And, I know there's a lot of rumors that's been going back and forth about Tyler Boyd, and there's still an opportunity to bring him in, but I still don't see him as your wide receiver 1. So I do think that to replace the Deontay Johnson, wide receiver on the team, because I know that, folks are going to say George Pickens could be that wide receiver 1. He's, got all the ability and this and that. And yeah, I agree, but he doesn't have the route running ability that, for instance, Deontay Johnson had, or the receiver that you want on the outside, whether on their own, whether it was like, your Deontay Johnsons, Antonio Holmes, your Antonio Brown type of receiver. So I think they're probably going to look at the draft. I really haven't looked at the receivers too hard yet. I'll probably go check them out throughout this week and kind of give you an idea of who I think will end up falling to 20 and is an Arthur Smith type of wide receiver. But wide receiver, in my opinion, is high on that list. Extremely high. I know there's been some rumors there, started by Antonio Brown, about Justin Jefferson, and that'd be crazy. That would be nice, I'd get that jersey. Not gonna lie. Let's see. Chicago didn't have any other interest in Fields. I think that when they said they had 4, I think that they possibly did have 4 throughout the lifespan of free agency. It wasn't 4 at the time that Justin Fields was traded. I think they had, perhaps these teams that traded for, Ritter or Howe, Kenny Pickett. I think those teams probably all inquired with Chicago about Justin Fields. I think that, Justin wanting to go to the Steelers and some of those teams being in the NFC probably played a role in their decision to allow him to come to the Pittsburgh Steelers. But yeah, I think at the time of the trade, I think it's probably between the Steelers and the Eagles. And maybe perhaps the Eagles were willing to give up more for Justin Fields. And maybe they saw the Pickett trade as too good a value to pass up. Let's see. Wow, it's weird having other teams and press talking about our offense, usually talking about how defense wins games. All we need is Ocho lining up with Pickens, please. Laugh out loud, I wish. Steelers talk to top wide receivers at the combine. Look out round 1 and 2. I think so. I think if they're going to go center, they're probably going to push it to the second round, right? And then the question is going to come in. First round is going to be that tackle. Is Mims going to fall down that far? Because I think he's a first round talent that you can go after. He's a little bit of a question mark too with the amount of games that he's played. Can you push him to the second round? he's a right tackle. Right tackles really don't go that high. Steelers have 2 third-rounders. Is it possible they trade, 2 third-rounders, jump back into the second, and end up getting a, wide receiver, get 2 seconds, and I don't know, end up with your center and uh, and your tackle? I don't know, because I think those are going to be your big pieces right there. Safety's been, addressed. Middle linebacker's been addressed. I think you probably get another free agent middle linebacker or a linebacker in the later rounds. I don't remember how many picks the Steelers have. I don't think it's very many. But I think linebacker is still a hole. And, Patrick Queen is just going to fill one spot. To have Roberts next to him for 17 games, I don't see. I don't know if the durability is going to be there. He's kind of getting up there in age, and he got injured last year too. And it was late in the season, but it was late in the season because earlier in the season it was the Cole Holcomb and Quan Alexander show. So he wasn't out there for majority of. Well, I mean, he wasn't taking the amount of reps that those two linebackers, or the amount of reps that he got towards the end of the latter part of the season. So the durability aspect, the season length, I think those all have to be considered when going into this year with maybe perhaps getting another linebacker there. But I do think wide receiver is going to get addressed pretty high. I wouldn't be surprised. Will Khan go crazy and take a shot? Man, you got to get to like what, 4, 5 to get Marvin Harrison Jr.? I think there's more of a chance to get Jerry Rice's kid like in the 3rd round or something. If we're going to go for sons of Hall of Famers, but yeah, no, I don't see that happening. But if it did, man, that'd be crazy. But you're giving up on a lot of other positions and the future as well. We'll see. He's pick is number 2. What's up, Nathan? Nathan, welcome to. Thank you for hanging out. He says Pickett can grab a 4-pack of Pampers on the 6 for $4 deal at Walmart. That's funny. Fields is better than Lamar minus the turnovers. I've only watched a little bit of Fields. I think that I want to watch more of the end of last year, because I think at the end of last year when he came back after the injury, he was getting his name chanted, and the fans were wanting him to stay. I assume that means his play was probably better. So I want to see what he was able to do at the end of last season, to see where he was at, to kind of get a baseline of who he is, and as coming into the Steelers, and not only that, but also to kind of see like if there's any issues, right? Because I know that when he was earlier in his career, he kind of had some of the same issues that Kenny Pickett had, leaving clean pockets, running too soon, not being able to read the zone defense, but he's been in the league for a little bit, and he's gotten injured a couple of times, so he's been on the bench and had to watch. Yeah, and the last time he came back in, apparently, from the sounds of it, he played better. I haven't watched any of the games to tell you honestly my opinion on it, but I do think that, yeah, I mean, if he can clean up those turnovers, I think he could be a solid quarterback. I mean, he has a 60% passing completion. I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see how he does. I like the ceiling that he has and the potential, but we got to see where his floor's at. You know what I mean? I would not take Kenny and Mason over my grandmother. That's funny. Oh, yeah. Can you imagine though if Fields ends up becoming a guy that not this year obviously, but if he ends up transitioning into that guy and potentially becomes a that guy, then you got some names in the AFC North outside of the Browns. I mean, Watson, I don't think he's anything special. So, but the other guys, Lamar, Burrow, I mean, you got some names in the AFC North. This is going to be an intriguing year. I'm excited. I mean, even if it's Russell Wilson, 9-time. Was he 9-time Pro Bowler? One time, he's been in one Super Bowl, been to two Super Bowls, won one. People are saying that he's a possible future Hall of Famer. He had a rough patch. We'll see what happens. Let's see. Kenny's deficits were both physical and mental. Fields has all the physical tools. I agree. I agree a lot with that statement. All this running game, addition to Arthur Smith mixed with Fields, bully ball is here. Just clean up them turnovers. Man, that's true. And I think that we're going to see Justin Fields on the field. I don't think he's really Justin Jefferson's in Cincinnati now. I hope he don't go there. That'd make things difficult. But back to what I was saying. So, Arthur Smith with Fields on the field. I think Justin Fields is going to have a package. He's going to have plays where he can either run the ball or throw the ball. He's not a slouch, right? Where he can't throw the ball. I think he's very talented with his arm and his accuracy. Especially if you're maybe perhaps cutting a field in half or whatnot, and you're threatening the ability to run with the ball. I think that puts Justin Fields in an advantageous position to throw the ball down the field, especially when you have somebody like George Pickens or a guy like Calvin Austin who can run under the ball that Justin Fields can throw up there, because Justin Fields ain't Kenny Pickett. He can throw the ball, he can launch it, So it'll be interesting to see what the Steelers can do with those guys, and plus whoever they bring in the draft. I'm fairly positive we're going to see somebody in the draft. Did anybody take their Pickett jersey to Primanti's for a $25 gift card exchange? Do they take the ones you get from China there, Nathan? Do you know? Because I didn't pay $25 for mine. But I'll take the gift card. I might just fly over there just for that. I'll take your Mason jersey. Let's see. Van Jefferson is a good number 3 wideout. I think so too. He's replacing Allen Robinson in my opinion, and he's a guy that I'm kind of curious to what number he's going to get, because he ain't getting 12, right? So I wonder what number he's getting. Maybe he's going to get 11. I think he'll end up with 11. Why isn't Mason a choice? It doesn't come back to bite the Steelers. I thought about putting Mason up there, and I think he probably would have gotten a couple of votes, but he's not really the topic right now as far as the Steelers. Right now, they're looking at what Pickett did, Fields, and Russ coming. But I should have put Mason. I'm kind of kicking myself for not doing it. Let's see. Kenny Pickett was traded. Yeah. All right. Receiver. Mims never mocks to 20. I ran 100 a day for him. Yeah, that's going to be, well, if there's going to be a run on quarterbacks, right? There's going to be a run on quarterbacks. I assume receivers and cornerbacks are probably also going to have their role in the first round. I can see a right tackle dropping to 20. I can see that happening, especially if there's more quarterbacks going early. Well, I think there's going to be at least 3 in the top 10. So that's going to push 3 players down. So we'll see. We need Spillane back. Okay. Yeah, Henry in the division. Yeah. Well, have you seen the safety Elliott, Sean Elliott? He had a pretty hard hit on Henry himself. It was pretty good. Let's see. Do we put out Fields in short yardage? 100%. What's up, George? Welcome back. I think we put Fields out there in a lot of places, but short yardage, red zone is probably some of the places we might see him. Let's see. Cordell throwback. Put him at number 10. Oh, that would be nice. Justin Fields at number 10. That'd be interesting. All righty, guys. Let's see what this poll says. We're looking at Russell Wilson. We had 144 votes. Wow, check it out. Russell Wilson at 74%, Justin Fields at 22%, Kenny Pickett at 5%. So we still had some that were, would have preferred to have Kenny over Russell and Justin, which is interesting. But Russell Wilson taking the majority. That's the route I would go. Year one, I think I would want Russell Wilson out there and mentoring Justin Fields. I think Fields would be a guy that I'd be intrigued for the future. You know what I mean? See what he has after he sits behind Russell. So, yeah, I'd be intrigued in that direction. But Russell Wilson right now, yeah. 74-22, Justin Fields, Kenny Pickett, we're ending the poll right now. Boom. Well, guys, I want to thank everybody that's joined. I want to thank everybody that's joined tonight, everybody that's become a member, everybody that's liked and subscribed. I appreciate all of you guys. I'll be doing some film breakdown and dropping that out a little bit later on this week. With that being said, guys, appreciate all of you guys. I'm out. Peace.